Hello, thank you for checking out our CHI paper and this video. My name is Angel Huang and I am a postdoc at Cornell University. In this video, I will walk you through our work looking at whether and how gendered voice agent might influence team dynamics and even support minority members in gender-imbalanced teams. Prior literature in human team and group research has found that experiences of minority individuals can be quite different from the majority. They generally express inferior team and group experiences because having fewer in-group members, having fewer people that they could immediately relate themselves to, often harms the sense of belonging and support they received from their groups. Existing studies have also found that by adding members that have shared identities with these minority individuals can change team dynamics and mitigate such phenomena. But in reality, changing group composition is not always possible. For example, in actual workplaces, that requires hiring new people or switching colleagues from one team to another. So in the current study, we explore whether having an agent on team can serve any similar effect. That doesn't necessarily mean the minority individuals would identify with the agent, but we investigate whether the presence of an agent can provide any mitigating function, such as mediating group conversations or influencing team dynamics to support minority individuals. In designing an agent to provide such values, we are interested in whether the identity of the agent matters. We investigate these questions through the context of human-agent interaction in gender-imbalanced teams. And we particularly look at how the presence of a same gender or a different gender agent might influence gender minority members in different ways. Prior literature also suggests there are gender differences in team behaviors. According to the theory of social identity, individuals tended to learn and adopt expectations and even stereotypes of gender roles when they interact with others in small groups. And this phenomenon is particularly salient when a person is the only male or the only female on the team. When females are the minority members in groups, they tended to be more interpersonally oriented and care more about the social dynamics within groups. They are also more likely to conform to stereotypes of feminine behaviors, such as becoming more quiet and less assertive. When males are the minority members on their teams, they tend to be more interested in solving the task at hand. They usually do so by adopting an autocratic style or even a leading role in their group to guide the teamwork. As such, they tend to speak more and demonstrate more dominant behaviors. Acknowledging these gender differences, we further examine how well having a same gender or different gender agent influence female and male minority members respectively. To address these questions, we conducted a mixed design experiment. We are interested in three key variables here. These include participants' self-identified gender, whether they are the majority or minority members in the team, and the gender identity associated with the agent participating in the team. Here, we want to acknowledge that gender is a fluid concept and the spectrum of gender identities cover much more beyond just female and male. We focus only on female and male identities in this study because we hope to explore the effect of having an agent on the team with cleaner experimental stimulus. So, the gender identity of the agent was only manipulated through having either a female-sounding or a male-sounding voice. We didn't want to add any visual cues that might add confounds. Therefore, we could only differentiate agents' gender identities in this binary way, and we acknowledge this is a limitation of our study. We recruited and randomly assigned 180 participants to either a female-dominant or male-dominant team. And so, depending on participants' self-identified gender, they became either a majority or minority member on the team. Every team worked on 2 teamwork sessions, one with a female voice agent and one with a male voice agent in a random order. I understand the study design might be a bit complicated, so here I will walk you through the full study flow. Before participants joined the study session, they filled out a pre-study survey. From here, we collected their demographic data, including their self-identified gender. We used this information to randomly assign participants into either female-dominant or male-dominant teams. During the actual study session, each team worked on 2 teamwork tasks, and participants filled out a post-task survey immediately after each teamwork session. Every team had 3 humans and 1 agent. So here I am showing an example when participants were assigned to work on a female-dominant team. So they got 2 females and 1 male on the team. Across the 2 teamwork sessions, each team got to work with a male agent once and a female agent once. And again, this is just an example of a study session with a female-dominant team. Across all of the study sessions, the assignment of groups, the order of working with a female or male agent, and the order of tasks were all randomized. So to recap, participants who had another same-gender human teammates on the team belonged to the majority group. This is what we call the human support scenario in our study. Participants who were the only male or the only female on the team belonged to the minority group. When there was a same-gender agent on their team, we called this the AI support condition in our study. When they had a different gender agent on their team, we called this a no support scenario in our study. The type of task they worked in the 2 teamwork sessions were also different. We have 1 gender-irrelevant and 1 gender-relevant task. The gender-irrelevant task is a creative brainstorming task where participants were asked to come up with new ideas for water and energy conservation. The gender-relevant task had participants review a number of employees' profiles and decide who to promote for a job. The order of these tasks were also randomized. The responses on these teamwork agents were generated from GPT 3.5, and their voices were generated through Google Cloud's text-to-speech function. Now, let's take a look at the fact of the 3 key variables we manipulated in our study. First of all, group assignment could impact team experiences such that minority participants reported higher perceived marginalization and worse perception against their human teammates. And aligning with prior literature, we observed gender differences in participants' team experience and behaviors. Male participants tended to report better team experience and more positive perceptions of other human teammates. They also talked more and shared more ideas during teamwork. On the other hand, females often found teamwork more burdening and talked less during team discussion. Finally, if we look at the direct effect of agents' gender across the board, there was no significant effect of agents' gender on participants' team experience or behaviors. However, we found female and male minority participants reacted differently to a same gender versus a different gender agent. We found that male participants, they tended to talk more when they were the minority members. In particular, they talked the most when there was a different gender agent on the team. Female participants tended to be pretty quiet when they were the only female members on the teams. But when there was a same gender agent on the team, they contributed a lot more ideas during team discussion. So, putting all of these together, we first of all found participants' behaviors in teams showed significant gender differences. Overall, male tended to have more positive team experience, talked more, and contributed more ideas during team discussion. These findings align with prior literature looking at small group interaction among human-only teams. if we zoomed in to look at the experience of minority members, we found that male minority individuals, they talked even more but contributed fewer ideas during team conversations. This happened because although they spent a lot of time talking, most of the time they were socializing and agreeing with other teammates instead of coming up with their own ideas. On the other hand, female minority members were rather quiet during teamwork. But whenever they talked, that's when they were ready to contribute some ideas. So they actually contributed more ideas in a minoritized setting. Now, let's take a look at what happened when there was a different gender agent or a same gender agent on the team. For male minority members, they talked even more when there was a different gender agent on their teams. And because they talked a whole lot more, they also contributed a bit more ideas. When there was a same gender agent on their teams, their behavioral patterns were pretty similar to what I mentioned earlier. For female minority members, they became even more quiet when there was a different gender agent on the team. When there was a same gender agent on the team, this was when they contributed the most ideas across the board. Finally, we also looked at whether participants' prior experiences of being marginalized might influence their team experience and the effect of agent support. We found that male participants who had experienced marginalization in real life, they showed improved performance with the support of both a same gender agent and a different gender agent. But having a teamwork agent on the team had very minimal effect on supporting female participants who were severely marginalized in the past. So, to conclude, we saw participants demonstrating gender-based behavioral differences in human-agent teamwork when they worked in gender-imbalanced teams. And these behavioral patterns align with what prior literature found in human-only groups. In particular, having a different gender agent on the team tended to amplify this experience of being a minority member. For example, male minority members tended to talk even more, and female minority members tended to talk even less and become even more reserved. Across the board, working with a female agent had a positive impact on minority members, and these positive influences were especially significant on female minority members. However, this effect remains rather limited on females who have been severely marginalized in real life. Our present work has several theoretical and design implications, and it also opens up a lot of new research questions. Theory-wise, we saw participants' behaviors in gender-imbalanced human-agent teams align with prior literature studying human-only teams. This indicates many of these existing theories and insights might be applicable to ground future human-agent teamwork research. And for future work to explore relevant topics, one doesn't necessarily need a highly human-like agent to elicit the effect of agents' presence. Practically, we encourage researchers and practitioners to consider building sustainable relationships between users and agents and consider how we might support individuals with a longer history of marginalization. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, gender is a fluid concept and there are much more complex layers that capture individual differences. In this study, we only touch on a tip of the iceberg, and we encourage future work to explore new possible ways to support vulnerable populations. This comes to the end of this video. If any part of the content sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to take a look at our CHI paper and come chat with us at CHI. You can also reach out to me directly through email. Happy to answer any questions and comments you might have. Thank you for your time, and I hope you find something fruitful to take away with you.